We'll go to the other end. Let's see what's the difference between communism. Our old Marxist friend.
Oh yeah, I believe they mentioned him in the chat.
Yeah, a couple times. And there's another video I
Comrades,
sent
there's a lot
you
of
where he
confusion
talks
about what
about being a
communism and
feminist.
anarchism
We'll probably do another time.
Oh no, I forgot he was Canadian. This ought to be good.
Oh, those damn Canucks.
He says a
Oh my
boot.
god. This guy is just ugh.
Learn shortcuts. Fucking nerd.
He has
Go make
the
a
most
game.
unfortunate facial hair and actual hair. Just not a good combo.
Yeah.
Comrades, there's a lot of confusion about what communism and anarchism actually are. Many believe communism to be what the Soviet Union practiced, but
Oh, this argument. Hell, I watched someone flail doing this argument fucking 2 weeks ago. This isn't a new argument. You know, we've actually had to explain this, like, in fucking detail to people, right? Like, I can explain to you why communism inevitably ends up being applied in the manner that we see in the Soviet Union, China, etc., etc.
I mean, on paper, and the thing that they can't distinguish is there's a difference between on paper and real world application.
Well,
these people
because
who
these
are
guys
advocating
actually
for-
haven't considered the real world application.
Sure, these people who argue for like smaller government, reduced government, or even like no government on this far end of the spectrum, really don't have any fucking clue what they're talking about. If you get rid of the government entirely, someone is going to rise up. Someone is going to take control. They will, and that will inevitably be a government in some way, by some definition.
nothing could be further from the truth. Some might argue the end goal of the Soviet Union was communism, but even that is debatable. Anarchism
You're just gonna slip right on through that, huh? It was. They even acknowledged that they were in a transition phase, and once you make someone acknowledge that, which is something you're desperately, desperately trying not to have to acknowledge, is that people aren't just going to agree. You're talking about an attempt at social engineering that can't be done without force. It simply can't be. You will have to apply force. You will have to reopen the gulags to make this transition. You've then got to convince those people to give up their power. That's even harder, friend.
Yeah, and it's just, and that's part of that real world application that just doesn't work. These, and not, but then people try to argue like, oh, no, then don't use force at all. What's force even? And it seems like anything gets put in the camp of force now.
Yeah,
if you do
but
anything.
I mean, we're talking about the gulags. I mean, you have to somehow, how do you make someone that wants to operate in a capitalistic manner under communism not do so? How do you stop him? You have to apply force. If someone has something and they don't want to share, you have to apply force.
Yeah, and we saw where that went. Did not end well.
is probably one of the least
Friend.
understood political philosophies in existence.
No.
Many simply associate it with anti-state violence. And while the people who take part in those actions are anarchists, they have a greater political vision. The end goals of
Okay. Anarchists have a greater political vision other than anarchy.
We need to see the end of state violence. That fucking state.
We'll just have people violence instead.
let's just have individual on individual violence without a state to intervene. Fucking morons.
Ugh. I love his.
Every
do you
man
see
for
the-
themselves.
Do you note the book in the background? Little sunglasses
Yeah.
on it. All art is propaganda.
Oh god, maybe he inspired White Rabbit.
communists and anarchists are very similar. They desire stateless societies with socialist economic systems, meaning the workers democratically control the means of production and the distribution of the surplus of their labor.
Yeah, have you ever attempted to do that?
Have you ever met another person?
Do you have
I don't
any
think they
idea
have the
what an
skills to
utter
do that.
shit show that is? Because I've done this. I've actually run groups that was the goal. I've been to Occupy groups. I know how this isn't that's why I know. Because I thought this way at some point. This doesn't work. People are retarded. The vast, vast, vast majority of the population cannot behave. It just can't. It's not going to happen.
It's like those shows where they put a bunch of people on an island and they're like, okay, you need to survive.
You
need
would
to make a
think idiots
society."
like this. The problem is he's always fancied himself an intellectual, so he's never seen those shows. He's
yeah,
never
like when you
actually
came after
seen
that.
them because he was like, no, I'm entirely too cool for those shows. When in reality, he probably could have learned a lot about human nature from them if you actually just watched them from an anthropological, point of view. You can learn quite a bit about how human beings behave. And even if it's at their extreme, you're still understanding that these people are fucking retarded.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Hagbard. We're clearly statist authoritarians now. How dare
Yeah.
we want to govern people?
Yeah, that happens.
Anarchists emphasize the opposition to hierarchical organizations, while communists focus on the absence of money and social class. The real divergence of communists and anarchists is over how to achieve the stateless society. Anarchists believe we should go directly from capitalism to the stateless society.
How? It's a great idea. Sure, let me just agree with you because it's a great technique. Explain to me how your magic fairy dreamland comes true.
And explain to me, like they're always talking about force. Explain to me how this can be achieved without force. I guess if it's not state force, it's fine. Question mark.
I don't understand.
If it's force and violence coming from the people, it's a-okay to this guy.
Immediately establishing worker control over the means of production, though the exact form that would take depends on the type of anarchism one follows. Communists, on the other hand, believe there needs to be a transitional phase between capitalism and communism.
That's what you were talking about. That's exactly what Stalin was doing. It is the
to me,
transition phase.
I think it's more apples to oranges. There are similarities, and I would say overall that, and it's not even really much of a compliment, but I would say that the communists have a better plan than the anarchists. It's still a shit plan, but at least it's not going directly the way the anarchists are. But it just doesn't work. These transitional phases.
Well, and these guys are
it's what you
delusional.
said, they're not
I
gonna
will
give up their
take
power.
I will take an anarcho-capitalist over an anarcho-communist. At least an anarcho-capitalist is being intellectually honest.
Sure.
You're saying that if there is no system of control or force in power, people will just all behave, and it will become just a natural sharing state. There won't be a need for a government to ensure this happens, because otherwise you'd have to admit that you need a totalitarian government. You're talking about somehow changing human fucking nature. How?
Yeah, there's so many groups who seem to have this utopia vision, and I think it is complete projection.
I'm telling
It's
you,
like,
number
I
one
want this to
question.
be-
How many people have to die?
We've already too many.
Some call these the lower and higher forms of communism, while others call it socialism.
Okay, now that's downright spiritual. Low communism versus high communism. That is downright fucking spiritual right there.
The high learned communism.
And communism. I should note, when saying socialism and communism in this context, we're talking about a socialist political system on top of the socialist economic system we've already discussed.
Okay. How would one
like-
devise that? Isn't that just basically democracy?
It just doesn't. It's just not going to work. Like I think a lot of us are on board, somewhat leaning towards the socialist, not the economics, but the other aspect. But you need a system that can protect that. If you go full communist with your system on every level, it's just not sustainable.
Yeah, let's see if you
The
can...
transitional phase would see the state reorganize the economy into a socialist system where the workers control the
Oh, I wish I had it prepped. I could start playing the communist national anthem right now. Oh, it would have been so perfect. Just start rolling it and just let him talk for a second, because it's really sad. You just have to give the control to the state, and they will redistribute, and they will control all that. What, dude? Do you not hear? You're literally talking about communist Russia. You don't hear the communist Russia in your voice, friend? You clearly don't know what you're talking about.
means of production.
I mean, what the fuck?
It's crazy. Like, and I'm even baffled by this, and I'm really, I like big government, or I like a lot of what they do. I'm not as critical as other people, but at the same time, the way our government is organized, there is a very strict system of checks and balances so that we don't become communist Russia.
Jesus, that was bad, dude.
Oh, he's such a
slowly
moron.
phase itself out until the
Oh.
higher form of communism, the
Higher
stateless
form.
society, is achieved.
Hey, you want to watch Degrassi?
Like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
That's all I think of. Every time I hear a Canadian accent, I just snap back to Degrassi.
A boot. Oh, he's got bad teeth too.
Yeah, classic.
Many communists call this the withering away of the state. The lower stage of communism would still
That
have
worked out
social
well.
classes, though without as big of distinctions as under capitalism. Money would still be present, and workers would be rewarded based on their labor.
This is crazy too. So his plan is, okay, wither away the state. So basically, eventually we want the state out of here. But to do that, to make the social changes, we are going to empower the state to crazy levels.
Yeah.
And then it will just disband.
And then they'll stop. I promise.
It will disband
Because they
people are
will be
good. Fuck
philosophically
you.
pure. Don't you understand? They'll be
What
philosophically pure
madness.
parts of the Communist Party. As long as you are philosophically pure, you can rise to the top. But only by, not desiring any of these filthy bourgeoisie possessions. It's
Oh God, he's a nutter.
When the shift to the higher phase occurs, money and social classes would disappear, which means the system of remuneration would have to change. There's an easy way to explain this. The lower phase of communism is based on the principle from each according to his ability, to
Okay,
each
yes.
according to his contribution.
We know the
While the
quote.
higher phase is based on the more well-known principle of from each according to his ability, to each according to his need.
Okay, and when the needs start outweighing, then what?
At what point are we supposed to memorize all this and chant it in unison?
More importantly, when do we say start opening up death camps because, certain classes of people aren't contributing enough to this society any longer, and we've realized that they're just a drain on the state? I mean, these are the kind of things that come up from this, just because government
If you don't
inevitably is
contribute, then
pragmatic.
going into things.
I mean, inevitably this ends up as a pragmatic discussion in government. In any bureaucracy, this ends up as a pragmatic discussion. When you've empowered them to the point where they control people's lives, this is where it goes.
Start rounding up all those people on welfare, send them straight to the FEMA death camps. You're of no use to us anymore.
Both communists
To
and
the
anarchists
gulag with
desire a
you.
To the gulag.
stateless society where workers democratically control the means of production. However, anarchists believe the state needs to be abolished immediately, while communists believe there needs to be a transitional phase where the state reorganizes.
Did he just recut his own video? I want to go back and see if this is a recut or
It
just
feels
him
like-
re-saying it in the same exact manner. Holy
So
shit.
basically, here's the big question then. When it comes to the debate, abolishing the state is the lunacy. But which method do you think is nuttier? Going straight, just thinking I'm going to go straight to no state, or thinking that you're going to have a transitional period where you make the state super powerful?
Yeah, I mean, again, at least the anarcho-capitalists are being intellectually honest. If you say that you're an anarcho-capitalist, you say tear down the state and then let money do what money does. Let people do what people do and let human nature take over. I say I have absolutely no interest in going back to feudalism. Thank you. That's usually the way I respond to that. And when you talk to someone like him, who seems to inherently believe that communism is anarchical in nature, which is just fucking wow. There's a wow factor there that I wasn't expecting. He just thinks that it's the human condition that this government will wither away.
Just give it some time.
Yeah,
Just
it's
give
all
it
gonna be
some
fine.
time.
All right, we may as well give him his last 30 and then wrap.
Sure.
The economy and allows social relations to adjust before the state withers away. Comrades, I hope this has helped you better understand the distinctions between communism and
Oh
anarchism.
yes, comrade, you helped us very much.
Make sure to like this video, share it with your friends.
All right, you apparently don't get your last.
He's just gonna shill.
You are a dirty, dirty shill. Goodbye.
And if you look at if you look at his like to dislike ratio, I don't think many people take that advice.